What's up, guys? Welcome to Vintage Genetics, where it is all about classic bodybuilding. And I gathered some questions from you guys over the course of the last few days, and I wrote them down from Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, put them in a document, and I'm going to answer them right now. Question number 1 by Cesar Pinto. Of course, another great video from Wesley Vissers, thank you. I have a question. At what point of your bodybuilding career did you train shoulders separately? Have you ever? Well, when I was starting out, I actually only did chest, back and legs, and I trained 3 times a week for a couple of years. Then gradually I started adding more workouts, and yes, I did train shoulders separately for a while, but I noticed that my front delts were simply getting too big in comparison to the rear delts, and it also caused my posture in my upper body to be like this instead of this. So I realized that the front delts were pulling too hard on the joint, wasn't balanced quite well, and when I'm doing chest, I almost always feel muscle ache in the front delts as well. And they're growing quite nicely now that I've not trained a shoulder separately consistently for a few years, so that's the reasoning. Next question by Daryl Foster. Hey Wesley, just wondering, how long do you regularly rest between exercises and how long would be best? I like to rest as long as it needs for me to be ready for the next set or the next exercise, doesn't really matter, but generally around 45 seconds, and usually on the leg days, for example, when squatting heavy, leg pressing heavy, then it's about a minute to even 1 minute 30 depending on how heavy the weight is. Next question by Psychophantic. For the Q&A, how do you target the lower lats? Any exercise you like doing to target your lower lats? Well, I like to do rowing movements for the lower lats. When you want to work on the back width, it's a lot of pull downs. Oh yeah, this is an ice pack, by the way. But yeah, if you want to go for the back width, you do pull downs, and if you want to go for the back thickness, which include the lower lats, you know, the Christmas tree, you go for rowing. And that's what you gotta do, but you can do it in different ways. The seated row, you can keep your back, and put this off, upright like this, or you can stretch it all the way out. And when you stretch, the lats all the way attaching to your waist will be activated more as well. So the seated row, the T-bar row, and even the bent over row are all great exercises to build the lower lats. Darky Monk asks, what games you used to play? Well, I mentioned in the previous video that I used to be a gamer, a silly gamer, but I don't have time to do any games at all anymore. But I really like to do Tekken, fighting game on the console. Really love that. Played every single Tekken, Tekken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Tekken Tag Tournament, Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and more. Can't wait for Tekken 7, by the way. I like the Fallout series. I also like Oblivion, Skyrim. Yeah, those kind of games are really fun to me. Grand Theft Auto, of course. Racing games like Gran Turismo, Midnight Club, Need for Speed. I also had a lot of Dragon Ball games, but they, after a while, kind of became repetitive, so I didn't really buy them anymore. But I really like Tenkaichi Budokai 3. And yeah, those are kind of the games that I like, probably a lot more, but yeah, that's my genre. By Serbian Supernatural. Regarding biochemistry, do you need to cook or soak oats before you eat them? I usually blend them into flour and just add milk and eat it right away. Maybe I should just soak them first? How many hours is enough for fermentation to do its job? Well, you should soak your oats or cook your oats for your body to be able to absorb it a little more efficiently. Also, there's a lot of phytic acid in a lot of grains like oats, and that renders your body unable to absorb the nutrients that effectively or efficiently. So when you soak it, it really breaks down and gets rid of most of the phytic acid as well, and it's just better for your body overall. So that's what I recommend, and it actually tastes better as well. Tex Muscle asks, I've got a question for Q&A. I've asked this question before. Wesley, what do you suggest for sore tender kneecaps preceding days after a leg workout? If you have done a leg extensions, which is basically the number one exercise that puts stress on the knees, then you may get sensitive kneecaps over a longer period of time. If you do it heavy, if you do it with a lot of momentum. So what I recommend you do is skip the leg extensions for a while. Stick to starting with leg curls, seated leg curls, laying leg curls, standing leg curls, for example. Stiff leg deadlifts, all exercises that do not use the knee but do warm the knee up by still stretching and contracting muscles around it. And then after doing those exercises, you can do your squats, your leg presses, your hack squats, as long as you don't feel your knees the day or the time of doing the exercise. Then your knee problems should go away quite fast. Next question by Thomas Francis. Hey Wes, this might be a bit of a long one. I noticed that you made sure to mention and actually emphasize the control of the bar while benching, and I was wondering if this is mostly to prevent injury or rather for the contraction of the muscle. I bring this up because I recently saw a video of Devin Physique where he tore a pec muscle after lowering a dumbbell too quickly. Do you have any thoughts on this forum or what happened? While we're on the topic of benching, both you and your brother keep your elbows out pretty far when you bench. Has this ever caused any shoulder issues? Well, to answer your first part of your question, the reason why I control the bar on the way down, even with heavier weights, is indeed to prevent injury, first of all. Also to increase the time under tension and the load on the muscle, because the longer it takes for the bar to go down, the longer the tension is put on the muscle and the more it will respond to growth. And also the eccentric movement, which is the negative movement, damages your muscles more than the concentric movement. So the longer time spent in the eccentric movement with a heavy weight will actually also cause more growth. Also more muscle ache, but it's worth it. And why we keep our elbows out pretty far, you mean the grip is very far? Well, always try to tuck your elbows a little bit. Don't flare them out like this, because then you're using the shoulders. You want to emphasize the triceps a little bit. But the reason why is because you stretch out the pecs the most when you have a wide grip at the bottom. And because a bench press is difficult for the chest to contract at the top anyway, I'm just going to emphasize and maximize the stretch effect on this exercise, and that's why I like a wide grip, but I do sometimes alternate with regular grips as well. Next question by Mehdi Nikag. My weak point is my chest. My back, traps and arms oversize it. I've tried every style of training, but it just won't grow as fast as my other body parts. And I've been training for almost 3.5 years. Do you have any recommendations? Well, Frank Zane used to say that he had a weak back. So what did he do? He always did prioritize his weaker muscle groups, such as the back. He knew that he had certain strong points, such as the chest, the abs, stuff like that, but he did not train those as often as the weak point. So when you would normally train your chest twice a week, bring it down to once a week, or even once every 2 weeks, until your weak point is alleviated, until it is at the level of your other muscle groups. So in your case, your chest is your weak point, so train it at least twice a week. And also try a different training method, like starting out with flies, or for the upper chest, for example. For me, it really helped bring in the fullness in my chest. Like, you can have a very big lower chest, but if the upper chest is lacking, it still might seem a little behind, even though your strength and stuff is on par. But yeah, those are those are my recommendations to do. Next question by ZZZXXZZZ. Do you think taking the amino acid L-arginine after a workout would help bring nutrients into the muscle and speed the removal of lactic acid? Well, it's a post-workout or an intra-workout supplement, an amino acid, not really a post-workout one. The L-arginine will indeed cause more nutrients to flow to your muscles because the arteries are widened, open up more, the blood flow is more efficient to the muscles, and with the blood flow come all the nutrients and the oxygen, and the lactic acid will be prevented a little bit because more oxygen goes to the muscle, thus more energy, thus more endurance in your muscles. And the second part of your question, studies have shown that soy increases estrogen levels. Do you think it would be better to avoid soy, or would it not matter? I've answered this question before, but I think it is important for everyone to know that soy does not increase estrogen side effects. It does nothing estrogen related. There are phytoestrogens in soy, but they are not comparable to the estrogen that's in your own body. In fact, it even may replace some of the estrogen receptors in your body, and the phytoestrogen in the soy is weaker than your own body's estrogen, so the estrogen effect in your body might even go down instead of go up. I'm always drinking soy milk. I like meat replacements. I like tofu. I eat it almost every single day, and nothing happens. That's strange. Next question. Next question by Quickie Landweg. What is your opinion on low-carb diets with one high-carb refeed day per week like back in the old days? I'm a fan of carb cycling, which is increasing your carbs on the day where your workload is the highest, for example leg day, and decreasing your carbs on days where your workload is the lowest, for example rest day. And the days in between, chest, back, arms, shoulders, you are in between these two values. So for example, on a high day you have 500 grams of carbs, on a medium day 300, and on a low day 150 to 100 grams of carbs. This way you cycle your carbs and your metabolism will keep guessing and will keep at a steady, stable rate instead of dropping down gradually when you keep the same diet for a long period of time. So yes, I do like the principle of low and high carb days. Next question by Dikke Aap. When you just started training, in what period of time did you bench press 100 kilos for the first time? And I thought it was a funny question because it didn't really take that long. When I was 17, I already did 130 kilos, but the form sucked. I'm just gonna be honest, it wasn't good. I was only going down 90 degrees with my arms and not any lower, not touching my chest at all, and going back up. And I thought, whoa, I'm able to do this weight. But no. Throughout the years, my form gradually improved because I noticed the deeper I go, the better of a pump I get, the more of a stimulation I get, the better the muscle ache is, and the more growth I experience. So, full range of motion was twice as hard. So the weight didn't go up, but the workload for the muscles did. So years and years I benched the same weight, but it improved my form. And I think it is important for people to realize that you don't have to strive for a certain number on the bench press, for example 100 kilos, but strive for the perfect form and strive for progressing your weight slowly but steadily. Not just racing to 100 kilos by using any means necessary, because that's what I did in the past, and I could have grown a lot more if I did it right from the very beginning. By Portgas D. Abdesla. Which one is the best for muscle gain? Cyclic nutrition, whey protein, or isolate? Well, I think you mean whey protein concentrate or isolate. Isolate I would recommend for people, first of all, who have a lactose intolerance, because the isolate filters out all the lactose. But isolate also has a higher leucine content, which means you need to take less of it in order to achieve the same muscle building properties. You need about 3 grams of leucine at any given time for maximum muscle protein synthesis, and whey concentrate has less leucine compared to isolate. So isolate would theoretically build more muscle, but I use isolate in the off season, not as much as during competition, because in the off season I kind of put concentrate on my oatmeal, in protein pancakes, and usually isolate after working out because I want it to absorb as fast as possible. But the concentrate has a little more fats, a little more carbs in it, so it's not as pure. But both are great, but the isolate will more efficiently build muscle. But remember, your diet must be number one. Real foods or the supplements won't work. Almost the last question, guys, by Alex Claudio. Wesley, what do you think about vegan protein? Congratulations for the channel. Greetings from Rio de Janeiro. Vegan protein kind of is comparable to the last question about leucine. Vegan protein is good. It also has all the amino acids if you have soy protein, for example. But the problem or the downside of it is that the leucine content is on the lower side, so you would need to take more grams of this protein powder to get the same effect as whey protein concentrate or isolate, for example. But it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It does work, and it can work just as well as a regular protein, animal sourced. So vegans can build a lot of muscle as well. You just need to know how to do it. I like to do, when I have a vegan protein source, I actually got soy protein from Cytic Nutrition, for example. I wanted to try it out. I add leucine to it, like 2 to 3 capsules of this, to make sure that the leucine is at least on the level it needs to be. And that way you get the full benefit of the muscle protein synthesis. Whoa, that was wrong. Whoa, synthesis. Next question, last question. Will you be at the FIBO in Köln this year in Germany? I would really like to meet you. Great videos, keep it up. Well, I will be at the FIBO this year, no matter what. Maybe I'll be standing at some kind of booth, or maybe I'll be there as a visitor. I don't know yet for sure, maybe both, but I want to be there for sure, because I've pretty much gone for the last 5 years, and I am always enjoying myself, especially now that people start to recognize me. It's a lot of fun conversing with you guys, talking to you guys, taking pictures, stuff like that. So I will be there along with my brother Kane. So yes, Vintage Genetics will be representing at the FIBO. This was a Q&A, guys. Thank you for watching. If you have any other questions, please ask them down below to be included in the next Q&A video. At least have a chance to, if your question is good enough. Thank you for watching again, and don't forget to stay golden. Hey.